The millions of illegal aliens who currently occupy U.S. territory, in defiance of U.S. rule of law, have managed to influence our elections. And most Americans find that offensive.
It's offensive. It really is, because we're supposed to be neighbors. And I don't think you can say my neighbor when you build walls like that, especially 3 walls.
Well, it's sad that we have to put that fence up. I think if we just haul off and close the borders and stop traffic going down there.
It's just a fence. Maybe not just a fence. It turns into an offense, you know. But for the guy that is looking from that other side, it's just a fence.
And tell the Mexicans we'll open the borders again when they start controlling people coming into our country.
When you think really it's very stupid, because who's the guy who designs these things, you know? Who says where you can cross and where you can't?
Welcome to Tijuana, tequila, sexo, marijuana. Welcome to Tijuana, con el coyote Mayalón. Welcome to Tijuana, tequila, sexo, marijuana. Bienvenida Tijuana, bienvenida mi amor, de noche a la mañana. Bienvenida Tijuana, bienvenida mi suerte, a mí me gusta.
And I'm probably most known for bringing 1,250 volunteers to the Arizona-U.S. border for 30 days back in April of 2005, where we manned and staffed 36 homegrown outposts to aid and support the U.S. Border Patrol for 30 days.
I'm from Mexico, Guerrero. I'm 28 years old. I was deported a year and a half ago, for a traffic violation.
There's a desire for people to come into the United States and risk coming through that desert, risk being detained, arrested, and deported.
My wife is American. I have my children are American. They were born out there. I have one child that is really sick out there with asthma problems.
At the same time, there's an equal desire to uphold our nation as a rule of law nation and not let people come here illegally.
It's not my fault that I went over there illegally. My mom took me because I was a kid. It was not my choice to be out there. I got a life. I went to high school. I went to everything.
We are not anti-immigrant, but we are certainly vehemently anti-illegal immigration.
I'm trying to think something just in case they don't give me my papers. I had to go back any way possible. I can't live without my family.
After October 1st of 1994, when the United States, which in the previous decade had said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, suddenly the United States was building a wall. And that wall has led to 10,000 deaths, at least 10,000. Since 1994, every year more and more migrants have come around the wall, over the wall, under the wall, except the last 5 years. Because of the economic situation, less people are coming. However, more people are dying. Every year more people have died. Even though there's less people, those less that come have to cross in more extreme areas because of that wall. That's the wall of death, the wall of shame.
The fence is just an aggression. You know, it's just something ridiculous that to be there. You know, blocks the view.
I don't look at the wall. I look at down south, warmer weather.
I've used it as a canvas to kind of put my frustrations on it and make it much more public and visible. I've started seeing it as a tool, yeah, but I don't think I've ever stopped hating it.
What the wall represents to me is division and separation, and this kind of division and separation between people can lead to ignorance and antagonism and even violence.
For me, the border wall is just another step in this sort of attempt to sanitize the world, break it up into small sections, control everything.
I think you're setting up a dynamic for yourselves. Once you put up this intentional barrier, you're basically saying, we really don't want to, be your neighbor. We'll be your neighbor and we'll allow you to come through these specific places. But other than that, we really don't have any interest in what you're doing.
Como ellos han tenido problemas de terrorismo y eso, pues para mí pues casi viene siendo lo mismo, porque nos están discriminando. Somos vecinos y nos quieren tratar mal. Después de que nos usaron, ahora nos quieren pisotear, o sea que no nos quieren.
For me, social activism and art making is just the same thing. You know, I don't do one thing without the other. I think I wanted to use the medium that I use in my work, which is painting, mostly, as a tool to combat it. When I had the idea of painting it sky blue and to try and erase it, which is this kind of more surreal act in itself, it was a bit funny. And then I said, well, I think I could probably get away with it, especially if I go there dressed in a cocktail dress and stilettos. It might be something humorous for people to watch. A lot of curiosity that when I was doing it that came from the migrants themselves that were sleeping on the beach. The police tried to stop me, and I had like a 30-minute argument with them on the beach. The Mexican populace, which is the people that live next to the wall, you get so fed up of like all the information. It's like, yeah, I know tons of people are dying. I know that this is a really violent space. And I want to portray it in a different light so people can re-see it. And for me, I feel it's really essential that I keep posing questions more than providing answers, I think. You know, like, why is this thing here? What would it be without it? What does it force us to do? Coexist? That's not too bad.
I started photographing along the U.S.-Mexico border in Mexico beginning in 1996. I became interested in making photographs on steel. So I just happened to come down to Tijuana, and I made a photograph of a migrant. And I decided, well, I'll print it on steel and see what it looks like. So initially, this started with this photograph, and it's actually the only one where I didn't get a name. So it was the unknown migrant. But it represents the faces of thousands. I just happened to see him walking along. He was about to hop this fence, and I asked him to stop, and so I made 2 photographs and gave him the photographs, and I kept the negatives. I was interested in creating a photograph that functioned more like a relic. And the idea was every person that I would photograph, I would return with one of the steel plates and install it at the site where I had made the photograph, and came back periodically just to see what was taking place. The images would deteriorate over time. And that became interesting because it really showed the transitory experience to the point where all that was left were blank plates. If you look at photographic history, a lot of it is that transitory experience where people are actually photographed crossing the border. You see a lot of the people from behind. And there wasn't that opportunity for that pause. And the pause that takes place on the border for somebody that's going to cross is pretty significant because they're leaving something significant behind in anticipation of something unknown. And it became interesting to me to make photographs that revealed that sense of uncertainty, of anxiety, of vulnerability, and to do it in an intimate way that reflected a sense of compassion and respect for the people that I was photographing. So
the idea is for people to make friends right here inside this binational friendship circle. We do it by looking for common interest themes, things that people have in common that they would want to get together about, passions that people have. When there's a common interest, people start to get really creative. We've done yoga classes and salsa dancing lessons and poetry readings and language exchanges. When we do the beach cleanups and then we meet at the fence, we make kites out of trash that we found that day. Or it kind of becomes a really cool combination of symbolism and people really getting to know each other. You know, when you see the kites up there, it's kind of the symbolic thing, kites on both sides. The role of art at the wall, I would say, is that art creates a medium for people to communicate and make friends across barriers.
If the physical wall were not there, never there. Were never there. Still, I was going to do work about the border, because I live in the border with the fence or without. I did a piece that can be read in many different ways, because this is actually as a photograph of the back of the head of supposedly an American guy that is looking to the fence that divides Mexico and the U.S. This guy, you don't know if he's running towards the fence trying to cross into Mexico, and maybe he's going there to invade, or maybe he's just waiting for someone to jump the fence and to attack them or whatever. I came up with this quote that says, "Don't be a man
for just a minute, be a man for a whole life."
That obviously has all these implications, sexual implications.
That's good. And this is from the artist?
And also criticize this arrogance of taking a name that is so important to the American culture, because historically it has some power, because that's the name of the Minutemen, is that group of revolutionary people that was ready in a minute to fight the enemy. One of the positions of the piece also is to try to question, because the title is The Prejudice Project, my own prejudice. And the prejudice of the Mexican pass-buyers and driving there, that will look an Anglo guy with a red neck and a thing that looks maybe like the Minutemen pay for it. You read not through your eyes, you read through your culture. That's what you read with.
He's saying, I disagree with you. I disagree with this policy. He probably wants open borders.
We first deal with our own prejudice in order to be able to ask at a point that we will be treated fairly.
This is a fantastic expression of free speech. I can't argue with it.
Maybe that's the success of the piece, because I just did the piece, but I don't have all the answers for it,
I understand why he's taken that position. I disagree with him, but I don't dislike him.
It's even stronger and more important, the other kind of wall there is between the people than the physical one that is there, because, at the end, that keeps us from going there, but that also keeps them from coming this way, and just, again, metaphorically, because the real problem is not understanding the other.
My work, I think, is not about being empowering, it's about being disempowering, disempowering to the powerful. And I think that's the point of satirical art. It disempowers the powerful. It sort of puts the clown face on power. So the New World Border exhibition is 30 artists. Each of them were asked to make a piece about the border wall. These artists had different backgrounds. We had Emory Douglas, the Minister of Culture for the Black Panthers, people involved in the Chicano art movement, the Chicano poster movement. Nancy Holm, who's the Kearney Street Workshop, which is a big Asian American art movement. I think of this exhibition as an organizing tool to be used by different groups. There are immigrant legal rights groups that put on the show. There are community centers, different kinds of media centers. In a sense, the art is sort of a background for their organizing. There's people who've fought over these issues and thought deeply about these issues and experienced these issues, particularly themselves. And then if I can in some way communicate that back to somebody who doesn't have those experiences, then that for me is the most rewarding part.
Border Angels is a faith-based organization which got started 25 years ago. We do a lot of actions. We place water in the desert. We place crosses on the wall on one side or the other. We visit the day laborers on a regular basis to make sure that they're okay. We do vigils and national caravans. We have done many binational type of concerts or artistic ventures. The most fantastic one along the San Diego-Tijuana border was an artist group. They're called Insight. And they had a human cannonball. They shot a guy from Tijuana over the wall into the San Diego, into a big net. So there's been a lot of creative, different types of artistic ventures, and I think it's very important. Because if you just have that solid steel or wooden or concrete wall, pillar, it's very cold. But when you see an artist go there and start painting and decorating and delivering a message, I think it shows that they're in solidarity with the migrant community.
Creo que los artistas han jugado un papel importante en denunciar los muros, pero sobre todo en recordar las tragedias que van vinculadas a las personas, ¿no? Y si no fuera por eso, ideológicamente nuestra memoria estaría más empobrecida, ¿no?
Yo creo que históricamente el arte ha sido un catalizador social y por supuesto en las fronteras no ha sido la excepción, un poco plasmando toda esa impotencia, esas ganas o esa propuesta incluso, literalmente tomando la instalación. Ahora sí que es como una especie de contraofensiva de lo humano a lo material.
It makes a stand and makes a point, but for what purpose? The empire is the one that holds the key. We don't, so.
De eso de las pinturas no me quiero meter mucho porque yo no he mirado lo que me estás preguntando y no me quiero meter en eso porque no te podría contestar, pero sí te podría contestar en qué. Un americano no va a ir a limpiar baños como nosotros. Un americano no se va a meter a hacer burritos, taco shop como nosotros. Nosotros es lo que queremos. Nosotros no venimos a robarle a nadie. Nosotros venimos a trabajar. Tenemos familia aquí. Mis hijos son de aquí.
Pues me hace sentir que hay algunas personas que sí ponen atención a nosotros los migrantes, pero a la vez yo creo que deberían de hacer cada vez más para permitirnos estar allá, porque le digo, no queremos otra cosa más que trabajar.
The Interior Department warned the builders of the wall that if they put this wall up in certain areas, it would not last. It would be wiped out by flash floods, and that's exactly what happened in certain areas of the wall. I think that's what should happen to the wall. The wall should be washed away, and I don't think that it's a good comparison to the Great Wall of China. I don't think it'll be a tourist attraction in the future. I think it'll just be a wasteland, destroyed piece of wasted construction.
I think when we take the troops out of Iraq, we ought to line them up along our border and keep them out once and for all.
Entonces el día que el muro no sea propaganda política, esto es propaganda para las elecciones, para el electorado del sur de California, para las nuevas elecciones. El día que deje de ser útil propagandísticamente, comenzarán a dejar caer el muro o volverá a desaparecer.
I think it should be recycled and be turned into something much more constructive for communities. You know, you have people making homes out of refrigerator doors and garage doors. I'm sure those metal placards would be very nice roofs somewhere else. They'd be housing a ton of people.
For the first time in all my life, I've seen the American public vulnerable and thinking that they're not the super high, magnificent thing that they always thought that they were. And then maybe if that brings a little bit of humbleness or humility or whatever, then we started already to bring down that wall.
It makes me think that, geez, if you didn't have it, okay, yeah, there might be a rush of people that come across. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know what the fear is or the uncertainty is. And maybe that happens, but then after that, you know, maybe that even goes away and people just kind of come and go and do their thing. And maybe that's the way it should be. I don't know.
I think the more art, the merrier, you know.
The crops are all in and the peaches are rotting, the oranges are piled and they're creosote.
They're flying you back to the Mexican border to pay all your money and wade back again.
Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios a mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplanes, all they will call you will be deportees. My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money he made in his life. My brothers and sisters come work in the fruit trees. They rode the big trucks till they laid down and died.
Some of us are illegal and some are not wanted. When contract is out, we've got to move on. It's 600 miles to the Mexican border. They chase us like outlaws.
He might even want no immigration laws at all.
You feel so regulated and so like scrutinized you have to do something. Even a joke works, to make you feel better.
The wall, I mean, it represents a piece of my artistic history, and I'm glad I've experienced it. I wish, it would have been interesting to know what has happened to the people I have photographed, but then there's a part of me going, there's part of me wishing, hoping it's worked out all right, and you go from there, so.
Beneath your trees and we died in your bushes, both sides of the river, we died just the same.
Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios a mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplanes, all they will call you will be deportees.